Sadhguru, what does the name Isha represent?
The word Isha literally means that which rules. What is it that rules everything in the existence? That is Isha. Now, that which is rules the existence is that which is the source of creation, isn't it? What is it that is the source of creation? That is Isha. When this source of creation or that which rules the existence is formless, it's called Isha. Or that which rules the existence or that which is the source of existence, we normally refer to it as the divine. So formless divinity is referred to as Isha. Isha means that which is fundamental, that which is the very source. So this is called Isha Yoga because it is a means to access that dimension which is the source of your creation. That which is the source of your creation is obviously within you, isn't it? Yes? It's obviously within you. So Isha Yoga is a method to turn inward and access that dimension which is the source of who you are. If you exist on the level of creation, as you are right now, you are subject to all the dualities of life. Repeatedly questions coming up, this is okay, but will this work on the streets of New York City? This is okay, will this work with my family? This is okay, will it work when I'm racing with the rats? All these things are coming simply because you have been mauled by the dualities of life. In so many ways, the dualities of the creation has mauled you. It has added color to you, at the same time it has taken a toll upon you, isn't it? Yes? It's brought life to you. It is only because of duality there is a game. It is only because of duality there is you and me. It's only because of duality the whole game of life is happening. At the same time, the same dualities are mauling you, subjecting you to so much pain and suffering. So now, the purpose of Isha Yoga is that your basic experience, you root yourself in that dimension which we are referring to as Isha, which is non-dual, which is the source of creation. But being rooted in this, you play with the dualities. Now, once you're rooted in the non-dual and play with the dual, dual has no impact upon you. You can play with it and enjoy it whichever way you like, but it doesn't take a toll upon you. You can go through this life without a single scratch upon you. If you are rooted in that dimension which is the source of creation, if one part of you is creator, another part of you is creation, you can play with the creation whichever way you want, but it will not leave a single scratch upon you. But right now, the simple process of living, as people age, they are becoming wounded, isn't it? I don't know to what extent you're exposed to other people, just look at yourself. What I see is, whether somebody is successful or failure or rich or poor or whatever, if you just take off their top layer and look at them, they have so many wounds within them. They're just managing to cover it and just go on bravely in the world. But there are too many wounds. These wounds have happened simply because whichever way you look at it, you can't come to terms with the dualities of life. Any sensitive human being is bound to be wounded when he knows only the dualities of life, when he does not know the other dimension. Only somebody who's utterly gross, like an animal, like a brute, he goes through life. He can go through it, but he will not know the subtleties and the beauty of life. He can go trampling through life without knowing too much pain. But anybody who is sensitive to life is bound to be mauled by the dualities of life, always. Because you are not able to separate what is good and what is bad. You are not able to separate what is right and what is wrong. You are not able to separate what is evil and what is beautiful, isn't it? Are you able to draw a clear-cut line between anything, even within yourself? Is it possible? You must deceive yourself to believe, no, everything is okay, everything is okay. People are trying to teach you such philosophies. I am okay, you're okay, everything is okay. You'll go insane after some time. Initially it all looks nice. You'll go insane because the very people who propagated such philosophies went insane. You know that? People who taught you, I am okay, you're okay, everything okay. These people went insane, committed suicide. People like Dale Carnegie and others, yes, they broke down, they became neurotic. Because you're trying to deceive the reality, not understanding the fundamentals of reality, just trying to deceive yourself, everything is okay. Everything is not okay, either with yourself or with the world, everything is not okay, isn't it? Yes? If you do a cover-up job, it feels good, but after some time it'll collapse. Now we are not seeing how to do a cover-up job. It is just that if you sink a little deeper into your experience, there is a dimension in you which cannot be touched by these dualities. If you are rooted in that dimension, whatever, wherever you're placed in hell, still you can go through it gracefully. See, Indian spirituality has always used a lotus flower as a symbolism. Why a lotus flower is used as a symbolism is, a lotus flower grows best wherever the slush is really thick and stinky. The more stinky it is, the better it grows. This stinking slush becomes a wonderful flower with such beauty and fragrance, you can't believe it's the same slush. But it is the same slush, isn't it? This little lotus seed transformed this stinking slush into a fragrant flower. So, always Indian spirituality used lotus flower as a symbolism for spiritual processes, because once you live in the world of duality, filth is unavoidable. Anyway, whichever way you step in the world, somewhere you will step into it. If you are sincere with yourself, whichever way you step into yourself in your mind, you cannot avoid filth in your mind, isn't it so? Is that the reality? Only somebody who is blatantly lost in his moralistic nonsense believes he is pure-minded. Anybody who is sincere looks at himself, he knows a part of him is utter filth, isn't it? You cannot avoid it. Nobody can avoid it. Only moralistic fools have closed their eyes to it. That doesn't mean they're free from it. So once you're like this, if you're sensitive to this will just destroy you. This will just eat you up. That is the very nature. Life is made in such a way, the beauty of the creation is just that the ugly and the beautiful always together. What is filthy and what is sacred is always together. So, if one has to be in this world, transact with this world, be involved with this world, and still has to go untouched through this world, he must be like a lotus flower, that he must learn how to convert this filth into a fragrant flower. Otherwise, some people get allergy towards filth and they try to go to Himalayas. Wherever you go, even if you climb Mount Everest, first day you will be dazed and you will feel all pure and wonderful. By day two, your mind will come back and the whole world's filth will come back on top of Mount Everest. Yes or no? Yes? First day you're just dazed by the elevation and lack of oxygen probably but by day two, the whole world will be there with you on Mount Everest. Nobody stays there for more than a few minutes, so it's okay. So that's why Mount Everest is a pure place. But if people live there for 3 days, all the filth of the world will climb Mount Everest. Yes or no? Now, being like a lotus flower means, some people develop allergy, they try to run away. Some people think, anyway the world is filth, let me also become filth, and they become filth. Now, when you decide not to run away from the filth and not to become filth, Now, filth is tremendous manure, isn't it? Yes? The more filthy situations you live in, the wiser and more beautiful you can become if you're willing, if your intelligence is functioning, if you're not reacting but responding to life consciously. If you're reacting to filth, you will become filth, or you will try to run away from filth. If you're responding to it consciously, filth becomes a great manure to produce a wonderful flower out of you, to bring out the most wonderful fragrance in you. Gautama, the Buddha, repeatedly said, "I don't want to go to heaven." Everybody was talking about, we are doing all kinds of spiritual sadhana, I want to go to heaven. I see huge hoardings in United States. All the Christians are going to heaven. Are you missing out? Everybody wants to go to heaven. Gautama said, "I don't want to go to heaven because anyway, I'm like this. I'm beyond all suffering. Wherever you put me, this is how I will be. So let me go to hell. You say people are suffering there, I will go and do something there. Anyway, I cannot suffer. I have made myself like this that I cannot suffer, so let me go to hell." This man is free, isn't it? I want to go to heaven, I want to go to heaven. Why? Because you made a hell out of yourself here. That's why you want to go to heaven, isn't it? Somewhere you made a hell out of yourself, that's why you want to escape to heaven. If living here itself within you is a big heaven, where the hell you go, what does it matter? Wherever you go, this is how you will be. Either you create your situations or situations make you. These are the two ways to live. Yes? Some people are being created by situations, but some people are creating the situations in which they live. And that is the whole empowerment of being a human being, that you can create your situations, isn't it? So, Isha means to become a creator. One part of you at least is in touch with that dimension in you, which is the source of creation. Once you are there, the external upheavals of life have no impact on deep down inside you. You handle it to the best of your ability and that's all there is.
Can I lead a path of spirituality devoid of yoga also?
Spirituality means what? What is spiritual? Generally we thought spirituality means going to the temple, going to the church, going to the mosque and praying to God or whatever. Going to temple, church or mosque and praying is not spirituality, it is just basic survival. Because 99% of the temple-going people, church-going people, mosque-going people, all that they have been taught and all that they're doing in their lives is, "Dear God, save me, dear God, protect me, dear God, give me this, dear God, give me that." Yes? So that is not spirituality, that is just simple, basic survival. So what is spiritual? Right now, your whole experience of life is limited to the physical, isn't it? Yes?
Yes.
When I say it is limited to the physical, see, in the very nature of things, sense organs cannot perceive anything other than the physical. So when your experience of life is limited to sense perception, your experience of life is limited to the physical. Just see, everything that you're experiencing is physical. Your body is physical, the world around you is physical, your wife, husband, child, this, that is physical. You have emotions about it, but still physical. Even your mind is physical. See, as for example, this microphone is a physical thing, isn't it? The electricity which is empowering this microphone, is it also physical? No? It is physical. It is a flow of electrons. It is still physical, very subtle. You can't see it all right, but still physical. Similarly, as your body is physical, your mind is also physical. If I want I can throw this flower at you. If I want, I can throw a thought at you, isn't it? It is still physical, very subtle, but physical. So everything that is in your experience is physical. Now, spiritual means if you begin to experience something beyond the physical, if your life is such that you have started experiencing something beyond the physical, now you're spiritual. It's the simplest possible way to put it. If your experience of life transcends the physical and something other than the physical is happening, then we can say you're spiritual. Now, in what way is yoga connected with spirituality? Spirituality is just an aspiration. Yoga is the technology to get there, a method. It works on you on the level of your body, on the level of your mind, on the level of your emotion, on the level of your energy, because these are the four dimensions in which you exist. So for every dimension that is reality within you, see, God is not a reality in your life, it's just a belief. What kind of God you believe in is just what kind of social situations you've been brought up in, isn't it? Yes? Whether your God has 2 hands or 4 hands or elephant head or cat head or tail or whatever, is just according to your social and cultural influences upon you. So God is not a reality, it's your imagination, but your body is a reality, your mind is a reality, your emotion is a reality, and the energy which empowers all this is a reality. So these are the only 4 realities which are a living experience for you right now. So if you want to go from here to somewhere, these are the only 4 tools with which you can go. These are the only 4 vehicles you can use to transport yourself to another place. So for these 4 dimensions, we have 4 basic yogas. If you use your intelligence and reach out to your ultimate nature, we call this Gnana Yoga. If you use your emotion and reach out to your ultimate nature, this is called as Bhakti Yoga, yoga of devotion or emotion. If you use your physical action and reach out to your ultimate nature, we call this Karma Yoga or yoga of action. If you use your energies to transform your energies and reach your ultimate nature, we call this Kriya Yoga, yoga of transforming energies. So these are the only 4 ways. What this means is your head, heart, hands, energy. These are the 4 dimensions of you. Is there anybody here who is only head, no heart, hands, energy? Is there anybody here with just one big heart, not the other things? You are a combination of these 4 things, isn't it? It is just that each human being here is a unique combination of these 4 things. Now, if you want to progress somewhere, your yoga should be a combination of these 4 things. Why for ages there has been so much stress on the presence of a live guru is simply because of this, so that he makes the right concoction for you, because each one of you is a unique combination of these 4 dimensions. That a yoga that I apply for this person, if I apply to this person, it will not work. He needs a unique combination. So that's what is being done here. Though we are all sitting together in the same hall, we are not mixing the same combination for each person. You will see as it progresses, towards the end of the program, people will share as if they have been in different programs. Already happening because we are mixing different combinations for different people, otherwise it won't work. That is why there is so much stress on a live guru.
Sadhguru, what is the point in pushing a man into the sea of duality where he can't even keep himself afloat?
Why? You can float. No, if you stop struggling, you'll float. Now, why creation? That's the question. This question has been asked too many times, but shall I tell you why creation happened? Are you okay? Now, one day See, these people are laughing. This is not fair. Before I tell them why creation, they're laughing. One day, God had nothing to do. So he was playing marbles. One marble fell this way and it became planet Earth. Another marble hit it and shot up and it became sun. Another smaller marble became moon. And many other marbles he lost control and it became whole galaxies. And… shall I continue? Now this is a ridiculous story you don't want to believe. But I could… if we had more time, I could tell you a story as long as Mahābhārata, and then you would believe. If I make the story sufficiently elaborate and logically sensible, you would believe the story. Anyway, when I tell you a story, what is the option that you have? Believe me or disbelieve me, that's all the option you have, isn't it? If you disbelieve me, what will happen? Nothing will happen. If you believe me, what will happen? Nothing will happen. You just have one more story to tell in the next dinner party that you have. But in what way will it transform your life? In what way does it take you any closer to reality than the way you are right now? Does it? Does it or no? It doesn't, isn't it? If I tell you stories, you'll become wiser? See, right now, just because people believe these stories, they have become utterly stupid, so stupid that today the fight in the world, don't believe this, that they are saying it is between good and evil. The fight in the world is not between good and evil, it is just one man's belief versus another man's belief, isn't it? Now this many people believe my story, this many people believe somebody else's story. Can you stop these people fighting after some time? Initially they will say bye-bye. Initially they say we are all brothers, we are together, this, that. But tomorrow, when these people insist our story is right, and these people also insist our story is the real reality, can you stop them from fighting? Anyway they will fight. Please understand, all the fight in the world is just one man's belief versus another man's belief. Simply because they believe things that they do not know. Why don't you be sincere enough to simply see that you don't know? If you see, I do not know, what you will do? You will seek. Because nobody can live with I do not know for too long. So you just believe something that somebody told you, it quells you, it puts you to sleep, but it doesn't get you any closer to reality as such, isn't it? Just makes you believe one more story. Now, these stories, very entertaining, culturally rich, but if you're looking for enlightenment, if you're looking for liberation, if you're looking for going beyond your limitations, they are of no consequence. If you're just looking for color, if you're just looking how to decorate your life, then culture is useful. So let's not destroy the culture, let's enjoy the culture, but don't go by the stories. Don't believe or disbelieve the story, just enjoy the story, isn't it? Now, when it comes to creation, instead of asking why, if you see, right now you are a part of the creation, and like you said, you're entangled and stuck and drowning in the creation, as you say. Not everybody may be drowning, but at least quite a lot of people feel that they're drowning, when things go wrong at least. When things don't go the way they want them to go, they feel they're drowning, isn't it? So right now, in some way you're entangled. Now if you ask me how to go beyond this, instead of asking why creation, if you ask how to transcend creation, now I have a way, I have a method, I have a clear-cut path as to how to go beyond this. But if you ask me why, I can only tell you a story. Even if the story is true, still in your experience it is just a story, isn't it? Yes? Even if the story that I am telling is actually true, as far as your experience goes, it is just another story. If it appeals to your mind, you will believe it. If it does not appeal to your mind, you will not believe it. So, stories won't transform people. You believe God to be a demon and demon to be a god, it makes no difference because after all it's just your belief. Now Shiva is Mahadeva in India. Openly, in countries in the West, especially in the United States, people are going about campaigning, he's a demon. Okay? So, can you believe for an Indian, Shiva Bhaktas are here? He is the highest of the highest. But the whole aspect of Shiva has been created with enormous care and understanding. It is not to be believed, it is to be used as a tool and a device in your life. Shiva, his personality has been created like this. He is the most beautiful and he is the ugliest. He is the most wonderful and he is the most terrible. His friends are all demons and freaks and goblins and all kinds, but he is the highest god. It has all been created like this. He is the destroyer, but he is the very basis of creation. It's all been created like this because if you can accept this one man, you'll accept the whole creation the way it is. It's a tool, it's a device, but now you just made it into your story. Suddenly it is no more it has lost its transforming impact upon you. If you really use Shiva as a tool, if you really use Shiva as a device to transform yourself, if you just see the evil and the good, the beautiful and the ugly, everything is a part of him, you would revere the ugly and the beautiful the same way, isn't it? Yes? That would be very transforming. But now you just believe the story, did not apply the device to your life, see no change. You say Shiva or Rama or whatever nonsense, nothing changes. But if you applied it the way it was intended, it would have transformed you tremendously.
Sadhguru, what do you have to say about rational thinking?
If you're truly rational, then it's a wonderful tool for your growth. But you're irrationally rational, then it's a problem. When I say irrationally rational, two people are arguing with each other. Both of them firmly believe that they are being very rational and the other is being very irrational, isn't it? Isn't it so? When you get into arguments, have you seen? You believe you are definitely saying the most rational thing, but the other person also believes that he is saying the most rational thing. So, who is irrational in this? Probably both. It is just that your rationality is coming from your identity, limited identity. Your rationality is not coming from an all-encompassing experience of life. Your rationality is coming from a very limited identity of who you are, what you have identified yourself to be. Now, you are irrational because you have excluded the rest of the world and rationalizing just with your identifications. That's very rational, isn't it? That is why two rational people can get into a clash. Otherwise, how if I am rational and you are rational, how can there be a clash? It's not possible. But your rationality is coming from your identity, the other person's rationality is coming from his identity. The classic example is always man and woman getting into an argument, as man and woman. When they are together as man and woman, they are constantly getting into arguments. The woman is coming for her identity of her emotions, man is coming from his identity of whatever he thinks he is. And it's an endless argument. It goes on and on and on, never comes to any conclusion. If there is some emotion of love and understanding, somehow it quells and again props up somewhere and again props up somewhere. But it's a never-ending thing. Most of them are wise enough to understand, okay, he's like that, okay, she's like that, somehow let's get along. But In rationality, they are never meeting, isn't it? Because two different identities. So, when your whole rationale is springing from a small identity of who you are, it is irrational, isn't it?
Today, as you said, like we are getting away all the dirt from us. Maybe we are a bad person till today. We are trying to become a better person.
I didn't say such things.
Okay, I am a bad person as of
you're
today.
admitting it.
Yeah, I'm admitting it. And maybe a week from now, I should be a better person. And does this, at the end of my life, decide my next life also?
So what happens after death? That's a question. Some things, Ganesh, you will know only by experience. You want to know? It's best you know it only by experience. What happens after death? See, if you want to know what happens after death, do you know what is happening right now with you? Not as a person. As life, do you know what's happening with you right now? No. So when you do not even know, when you don't have the capability to know life which is kicking within you this moment, where will you get the capability of knowing what will happen after death? So, if you want to know the process of life, this is the moment, isn't it? Now, you must make an effort to turn inward and go deep into yourself, to know the very fundamentals of who you are. If you know this, if you know the basic fundamentals of who you are completely now, even after this body falls apart, still you know the same thing. But if you do not know it now, the possibility of knowing it then doesn't arise. Because right now you are better equipped. Right now, you still have your intellect and discretion. When you shed your body, you don't have these things, you just function by your tendencies. So when your intellect is on and you have the discriminatory power to see what is what, this is when you must see it. What is happening with me right now? What is the nature of who I am right now? If this becomes a living reality for you, knowing what happens later will be very simple.
I know that my father is dying, he's old, and I would like to talk to him about it, but I think it is totally unacceptable in our society. The moment a person is very old and you know he's going to go, you leave him even before he's dead. Why can't we talk about death in a positive way in our culture?
If you avoid death, you will avoid life also. Only that person who is willing to die can live totally. One who tries to avoid death will naturally end up avoiding life, because what you call as life and death are not different. Right now, you are living, are you living? But actually we can say, right now you're dying, slowly you're dying, one day it'll be complete. Isn't it so? The process of death is on right now. You're actually dying, one day the process will be complete. No, I understand. Now, that too in India, being born in India, if you avoid death, then you don't know anything about your culture. Because this very culture springs from being reminded of your death. See, only when you remind yourself of your death, you will turn spiritual. If you think of God, fantasies will come in your mind. No spirituality will come. Only when you realize, when you become aware, when you remind yourself, I will also die one day. Now, a search comes. Okay, somebody is around you right now, as much alive as you are, they were everything to you in your life, suddenly one day, they're gone. When they fall dead, you think, oh, maybe he's just sleeping, maybe he will sit up now, maybe some miracle will happen, you know, mind will work like this. Then once you cremate him, this is it. This person who was so alive, who was life like you, suddenly just evaporates. And wherever you look, he doesn't seem to be there. Gone. Just gone. And the same is true with you. Right now, you are going about doing your act, one day you will be gone, just like that. Once you are conscious of this, then naturally you will want to know, what the hell is this all about? Isn't it? Then spirituality begins. Only when you become conscious, only when you're reminded of your own death, you will become a seeker. When you think God, you're not a seeker. You're just looking for more foolish nonsense in your life. You're looking for more greed and more nonsense and more something else, easier way to get things, isn't it? Only when you think death, you turn spiritual, you seek. So, not just to the old people in your house, to the very young children in your house, you must remind them consciously, all the time, very casually, not as some great doom is going to come. Death is not doom. Death is just a natural process of life, isn't it? You must tell your children always, this is not an endless game, this is a brief game, small picnic you're having here. You're going to be dead one day. Now, if you're aware of this, now I'm not talking about celebrating it. That's not the point. See, either you try to fall this way or that way, that's the problem. See, people try to avoid it or people try to celebrate it. Now, you don't have to avoid it, you don't have to celebrate it. If you're just aware of it, it liberates you. If you celebrate it, you try to glorify it, isn't it? Naturally, your emotions will glorify it, isn't it? That is what? That is a misunderstanding. It is a misunderstanding that you try to celebrate life or death. If you are aware, everything is the way it is, and it's too beautiful. It's just fantastic the way it is, the intricacy of life. You don't have to enhance it by your celebration, nor can you bring it down by your gloom. Anyway, it goes on in a grand way. You don't have to celebrate, you just have to join the celebration. You trying to celebrate death will become death-orientedness, isn't it? See, suppose I go on telling you, death is wonderful, really it must happen to you, Then, you become like those UFO cults, You know those UFO cults in some of the Western countries, they all commit mass suicide? This is because they're thinking that is better than this. See, it'll get distorted. Always you try to distort it. Don't distort anything, just seeing everything the way it is. Death is a natural process of life, isn't it? Seeing it as that, not celebrating it, not becoming gloomy about it. It happened. Once, a certain yogi was invited to a new house. A rich man built a house. When they build a new house, they want some spiritual person to enter their house. So they invited the yogi. The yogi went, they welcomed him like a king, they served him well, they did everything for him. He ate well, he sat. Then they said, you must give your blessings to us. So the yogi raised his hand and said, let your father die first, then you die, then let your children die. Now, the man got so wild. Said, you fool, we welcomed you and treated you like a king and we fed you like a pig. And now, when I ask for a blessing, you say first my father should die, then I should die, then my children should die? The yogi was surprised. He said, what is wrong? Is it not in the natural order of things that first your father should die, then you should die, then your children should die? Suppose you die before your father, would it be good? or your children die before you, would it be good? The best thing that can happen to your life is, first your father dies, then you die, then your children die, isn't it? That means everything has gone well for you.
Guruji, what is the significance of lingam?
The word linga literally means the form. Form means, why we're calling it the form is, when, today modern science is proving to you beyond any doubt that the whole existence is coming from nothing and going back to nothingness. You know this? There was a time when modern science believed everything comes from something, you can neither destroy something nor create something. It can only be transformed from one state to another. You cannot destroy anything nor can you create anything. That was the belief some time ago. But today modern science is proving beyond any doubt that everything comes from nothingness and goes back to nothingness. A whole bunch of galaxies sometimes just collapse into themselves and become nothing, There's something called as black holes. Some of them explode into supernovas, but a lot of them just collapse into themselves and become nothing. So there was something and it became nothing. Similarly, there is nothingness and it becomes somethingness. Nothingness is the very basis of all that is something in the creation, please see. Only because there is a vast nothingness, somethingness has happened in the form of tiny galaxies. If you look up in the sky, generally the way your vision is made is, you think it's full of stars, but that's not the reality. The reality is there's a vast empty space, just tiny spots of stars, isn't it? That's a reality. But because of the way your vision is made, because of a visual deception, it makes you feel as if the sky is full of stars. The sky is full of emptiness, just a little bit of stars, just a little bit of salt and pepper. Rest is all darkness and emptiness. So everything springs from that and goes back to that. When the unmanifest begins to move towards the manifest, when the first manifestation begins, the first form that the energy takes is the form of an ellipsoid. You know what's an ellipsoid? A perfect three-dimensional ellipse is an ellipsoid. The first form is always a perfect ellipsoid. A perfect ellipsoid is what is being referred to as a linga. This we have always known. Yoga has always been saying this. Every human being who's gone deep enough into himself has always known this. But today, modern cosmologists have taken pictures of various galaxies and they say the core of every galaxy is an ellipsoid. Do you know this? No? The core of every galaxy, if you take pictures of it, is always an ellipsoid. So the first form that the unmanifest, when it begins to manifest, it takes the form of an ellipsoid. If you become meditative to a point where you become loose with your body, then you will notice once again your energies become an ellipsoid. That means before dissolution, the final form that you take also is an ellipsoid. So the first form is an ellipsoid, the final form is an ellipsoid. So linga is seen as a doorway. Either way, either this way or that way, it is a doorway to the beyond. If we take any form, suppose if you give me anything, let's say you give me this flower. You hold this flower in your hand, feel it if you're sensitive to it, and give it to me. I'll just hold it in my hand just for 10-20 seconds and give it to you. You will see it'll feel very different. I will make this flower feel very, very different in your hand because I'll energize this in such a way that it'll be vibrant in your hands. But this flower cannot retain it for too long. After some time, it'll be just a piece of organic material. But if you form a perfect ellipsoid, if you form a linga the way it should be and energize it, it'll be a perennial storehouse of energy. There is a whole science as to how to build a linga, the different dimensions, the different qualities that you can attribute to it. It is just that this science, which is very essential and very fundamental science, has been lost to some extent or to a large extent because the bhakti movement swept the country about 700, 800 years ago. The bhaktas took over temple building. So the science of how to make it, they dropped it because for a bhakta, bhakta means a devotee is not interested in any science. It is just the strength of his emotion, isn't it? You know, just simple strength of emotion. He is not interested in any science. So when devotees started building temples, they started building it whichever way they like. It's their love affair. You know, no rules, no science, no nothing. Their love affair just made them do lingas whichever way they feel like it. So, the science of making it sort of receded. But if it is properly made, it can be such a powerful energy form that people can experience it in an enormous way. It can be a great tool of transformation for people. Have you sat there for some time, any of you? You should just sit there, don't believe any nonsense. Simply sit there, don't think of Shiva and all this business. Simply just sit there, without any prejudice about it, without any beliefs about it, just sit there. It will shake you from the root of your spine. It'll just set forth a completely different process within you. Without a single instruction, you will be initiated into a very powerful process in the presence of Dhyanalinga. There's too much behind it, let's not go at it now. Those of you who want to know much more about it, most of you have the Mystics Musings. The last chapter is all about Dhyanalinga.